More than 5 centuries have passed since Leonardo da Vinci painted this portrait, yet one tiny detail continues to puzzle historians. At first glance, it seems like a simple portrait of a young man, but hidden within his hand is a clue that has sparked debates for over 200 years. Look closely at the sheet of paper he holds. It contains fragments of musical notation and a partially visible inscription, just a few letters that no one has been able to explain with complete certainty. Those faded marks have transformed this painting into one of Leonardo's greatest unsolved mysteries. Known today as Portrait of a Musician or Il Musico, the work was painted during Leonardo's early years in Milan. Although it now hangs in Milan's Pinacoteca Ambrosiana, its true story remained hidden for centuries. Surprisingly, the painting wasn't always recognized as the portrait of a musician. When it first appeared in a 17th century inventory, it was described as a portrait of a Duke of Milan and attributed to an entirely different artist. Neither Leonardo's name nor the sitter's connection to music was mentioned. For generations, people accepted that identification without question. Everything changed in the early 20th century. During a careful restoration, conservator Luigi Cavanaghi removed layers of overpaint that had been added long after the painting was finished. As the later paint disappeared, something extraordinary emerged. Beneath it was a hand holding a sheet of music, a feature no one knew existed. That single discovery completely changed how historians understood the portrait. The nobleman suddenly became a musician. Yet instead of solving the mystery, the restoration created even more questions. Only part of the musical page survived. Several notes were visible, but much of the score had been lost or concealed. Even more intriguing was the incomplete inscription beside it. A handful of letters remained, but not enough to reveal their full meaning. For over a century, scholars have argued over those few surviving characters. One theory suggests they are an abbreviation of a Latin phrase meaning angelic song. If that interpretation is correct, the inscription could refer to a famous musical work written by Francinus Gaffurius, the celebrated composer and chapel master of Milan Cathedral. Since Gaffurius worked at the Milanese court during Leonardo's lifetime, some historians believe the portrait may actually depict him. But not everyone agrees. Another interpretation reads the inscription very differently. Instead of referring to a musical composition, some scholars believe the letters identify a person. According to this theory, they may represent the title cantor, meaning singer, followed by the beginning of the name Angelo. If true, the portrait could represent Angelo Testagrossa, a respected singer and vocal instructor who also served at the Milan court. The fascinating part is that both interpretations rely on exactly the same surviving letters. Those few incomplete marks support two completely different identities, and neither explanation has ever been proven. But the inscription isn't the only mystery. The larger question remains far more difficult. Who is the young man Leonardo actually painted? Among all the proposed candidates, one name dominated scholarly opinion for decades: Francinus Gaffurius. The connection appears convincing at first. Gaffurius and Leonardo worked under the patronage of Ludovico Sforza, moving within the same intellectual and artistic circles. Historical records even suggest that Leonardo contributed illustrations to one of Gaffurius's musical publications, proving the two men knew each other personally. Yet there is one problem. Experts estimate that the man in the portrait appears to be in his mid to late 20s. Gaffurius, however, would likely have been noticeably older when the painting was created. While the age difference isn't enormous, it raises enough doubt to keep the debate alive. Because of this, another candidate has steadily gained support. Many modern scholars favor Adelante Migliorati, a talented musician and lutenist who had known Leonardo since their early years in Florence. Unlike the other candidates, Migliorati shared a long personal friendship with the artist and even accompanied him to Milan. That close relationship makes him an especially compelling possibility. A trusted friend would have been a natural subject for a portrait, and his estimated age aligns more closely with the youthful appearance of the sitter. Even today, the museum housing the painting considers Migliorati one of the strongest candidates. Still, certainty remains impossible. The inscription refuses to reveal its full meaning, the musical score survives only in fragments, and every proposed identity leaves important questions unanswered. As historians continued examining the painting, they uncovered another surprising discovery, one that suggested the portrait eye. Self may not be entirely the work of Leonardo da Vinci. The deeper historians examined portrait of a musician, the more they realized that its mysteries extended far beyond the sitter's identity. Technical analysis revealed that the painting we see today is not exactly the one Leonardo originally created. One of the clearest examples is the sash crossing the musician's chest. Scientific studies suggest it was originally painted a bright yellow, but centuries of later restoration and repainting gradually transformed it into the muted brown tone visible today. That discovery proved an important point. Someone had altered the painting long after it left Leonardo's workshop. These changes raised an even more difficult question. If parts of the painting had been modified, could every detail still be attributed to Leonardo himself? Most specialists agree that the young man's face displays Leonardo's unmistakable touch. The delicate modeling of the skin, the subtle transitions between light and shadow, and the lifelike expression all reflect techniques that became hallmarks of his work. But not every section inspires the same confidence. The hand holding the musical score, portions of the hair, the red cap, and even the sheet of music itself have all been questioned by scholars. Some believe these areas may have been completed by assistants working in Leonardo's workshop rather than by the master himself. If that theory is correct, it changes everything. The very object historians rely on to identify the sitter, the musical score, may not have been painted entirely by Leonardo. That possibility weakens every argument built upon it and leaves the portrait balanced between certainty and speculation. Even so, the face remains extraordinary. Unlike many Renaissance portraits that emphasize wealth or political power, this young man appears almost isolated from the world around him. There are no luxurious interiors, no elaborate background, and no symbols announcing his social status. Instead, Leonardo directs all attention toward the sitter's expression. His head turns slightly to one side. His eyes seem focused on something beyond the frame, as though someone has just entered the room or interrupted his thoughts. His lips remain closed, preserving a quiet moment that feels surprisingly natural even after more than 500 years. It is this psychological depth that makes the portrait feel so modern. Yet everything surrounding that remarkable face remains uncertain. The musical notation survives only in fragments. Too little remains for scholars to reconstruct the original composition with confidence. Likewise, the inscription ends before its meaning becomes clear. Whether it once named a musical treatise, identified a singer, or referred to something entirely different is impossible to determine from the surviving letters alone. As a result, every proposed identity depends on incomplete evidence. Some clues favor Francinus Gaffurius, whose professional relationship with Leonardo is well documented. Others point toward Adelante Migliorati, whose friendship with the artist and youthful appearance seem equally convincing. Still others keep Angelo Testagrossa in the discussion because of one possible interpretation of the mysterious inscription. Each theory explains part of the puzzle. None explains all of it. Another obstacle lies in the painting's history itself. By the time the portrait appeared in written records during the 17th century, nearly 200 years had already passed since it was painted. Whatever documents once connected the portrait to its original owner had disappeared. Instead, viewers encountered a heavily altered image identified as a Milanese nobleman. That mistaken identification survived for generations. Only after the hidden hand and musical page were uncovered did historians realize how dramatically the painting's meaning had changed over time. Yet even that remarkable discovery recovered only part of the original image. Some information had already been lost forever. Leonardo's years in Milan offer another important piece of the puzzle. He was surrounded by musicians, engineers, poets, architects, and scholars who regularly gathered at the court of Ludovico Sforza. Leonardo himself studied music, designed instruments, and was admired as an accomplished performer. A portrait of a musician would therefore have emerged naturally from his daily life. Unfortunately, that rich cultural environment creates another problem. Several musicians from the Milanese court fit the available evidence, making it almost impossible to identify one individual with complete confidence. Modern technology has helped reveal hidden layers beneath the paint, distinguish original brushwork from later additions, and uncover changes made during the painting's creation. But even the most advanced scientific techniques have their limits. They can show what was changed. They cannot always reveal who made those Anges or why. So after centuries of research, the portrait continues to resist a final explanation. We still cannot say with certainty who the young musician was. We cannot fully decipher the inscription resting on the page. We cannot reconstruct the missing musical composition. And we cannot confidently attribute every part of the painting to Leonardo himself. Yet perhaps that is exactly why the portrait continues to fascinate. Every new discovery answers one question while opening another. Every restored detail offers another clue, but never enough to solve the mystery completely. More than 500 years after Leonardo first placed his brush on the panel, the young musician still gazes beyond the viewer, carrying secrets that history has never fully recovered. Perhaps his identity was once obvious to those who knew him. Today, however, only fragments remain: a face, a faded score, a few mysterious letters, and a mystery that refuses to disappear. What do you think? Do the surviving clues point toward Francinus Gaffurius, Adelante Migliorati, or another forgotten musician entirely? And how would you interpret the unfinished inscription hidden within the score? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed uncovering another of Leonardo da Vinci's greatest mysteries, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.